Hello, how y'all doing? I want to talk to you today about essential workers. Now, the Central American illegals have this slogan these days called essential workers. They are saying that they are essential workers to the American economy. In other words, the American economy cannot do without them. Now, I beg to differ with that. As a person who's taken more than one class in economics, I know what it takes to run an economy, and they are not essential workers. I beg to differ with that because the United States is an over $1 trillion economy, and whether or not they are in this country or not, legally or illegally, this country is going to function whether or not they're in this country legally or not. Okay, this is $1 trillion economy. It was $1 trillion economy before they came to this country, $1 trillion economy now. Okay, they have nothing to do with whether or not this country is going to survive economically. I definitely disagree with them. I don't agree that cleaning a hotel is an essential service. I don't agree with that. You know, blacks used to clean most of the blacks and whites used to clean most of the hotels, and so they have taken those jobs. But I do not agree that they are essential workers. Another slogan they have is "We feed you." They don't feed me. Okay, let's get that straight now. They do not feed me. They're saying because they pick the vegetables, they feed me. No, they do not feed me. I am well capable of feeding myself. I am well capable of growing my own garden. I am well capable of going to the farmer's market and getting my own fruit and vegetables, cooking my own fruit and vegetables, and preserving them. They don't feed me at all. But they got this new slogan. The second slogan is "We feed you." You don't feed me. Okay, I'm going to tell you that straight up. You don't feed me. You don't feed any American in this country. Okay, and furthermore, you don't know your history. You don't know that black people used to be the migrant workers, because I saw the documentary when I was about 11 years old. Black people were the migrant workers, and you came here and knocked them out of their jobs. But they used to be the migrant workers. Now, I do not think the Central Americans are particularly good workers. I don't think the hospital I went to, the rooms weren't clean. The therapy building I went to, that was not particularly clean. So I don't think they're particularly good workers. As far as the construction industry is concerned, I see them building houses. They never use any measuring tools. How in the world can you build a house without measuring tools? I just don't understand. How can you build a house without measuring tools? But they do. And they built townhouses in about a week and a half, which is not worth nothing. I've heard a lot of a lot of bad stories. The bathroom is off center. If you just take a ball and put it in the kitchen to go from one end of the kitchen to another, which tells me it's not straight. I've seen houses that they are building and the framing is off. Why? Because they're not using measurement tools, so it's just off. Junk houses. Okay, so I don't know why construction people always hire Central American illegals. I don't know why. I basically do, because on paper they do not exist, and so therefore they can have these workers. They can have them build these things, but they don't have to pay any kind of taxes, FICA taxes, Social Security taxes, because they do not exist on paper. So that's why they hire them. I've heard a lot of horror stories from the construction industry. I've heard the sewer line not being hooked up, so you know where the sewage went. It went underneath the house. I've seen a lot of buildings that they have built. Framing is off. Expensive houses, $200,000 to $300,000 houses. Framings were off. Okay. But no, number one, I do not believe they are not essential workers. Not to this economy. Number two, they do not feed me. Okay, so let's get this straight right now. The truth is, they are a burden. Now, the statistic that I read years ago was the government spends over $300 billion on welfare payments, food stamps, and housing to the Central Americans. Over $300 billion, about $389 billion. And that was years ago that I read that statistic. You can just imagine what the cost is now. And all of them are on welfare, all of them. Actually, they have three sources of income. Most Central America have three sources of income. They have the welfare, the food stamps, and housing. That's one source. The second source is an under-table job where they don't have to pay taxes. They get paid cash. They don't have to pay any taxes. And the third source of income is moving drugs and smuggling more people into the country. So that's 3 sources of income. So they should be doing well with 3 sources of income. By the time the Central Americans are 10 to 12, the kids are already in juvenile. By the time they're 18, they gone to the big boy's house. No, 15. I think that's what the police say. By the time they're 14 and 15, they're already in jail. And 18, they go right to the big boy's house. Now, the truth is they take jobs. Every time they hire a Central American in a construction industry, that means that 1 black man and 1 white man is not getting that job. Okay, that's what that means. Blacks used to be the migrant workers, and they took those jobs. White men used to be the painters, and they very good painters. They're taking those jobs. Okay, if a convenience store, rather than hire a white man, they'll hire an illegal suit to paint signs and stuff in their convenience stores. Because, usually the illegals are going to undercut by $200 or $300. Okay? In order to buy a house, they falsify the information on the loan application. They falsify the income. They falsify everything. And when they do get the house, they rent out the room to their relative, girlfriend, or common law wife to the government. And so the government pays the mortgage, $1,500 a month. The government just pays the mortgage. When they go shopping, this is what somebody had told me, rather than buying one container of orange juice, they'll buy 2 or 3. So that's why the grocery stores are always, they don't have anything, okay? Now, they do the same thing in America that they do in Central America. In Central America, they are rapists of children. They're raped here. I'm hearing horror stories in my community. All these 12 and 13-year-old girls being raped. Okay? If they were drug dealers in Central America, they're drug dealers over here. They're serial rapists in Central America. They're serial rapists over here. Serial killers. They do the same thing in America they did in Central America. We don't know. The United States does not know who they're letting in this country. Now, my neighborhood, my neighborhood was so nice when I moved here. You could just walk leisurely, get your stick to keep the dogs away. You could just walk all over. But see, now, my neighborhood is just a drug corridor. All the stash houses that stash drugs are Central American. All of them. There are about 4 or 5 in my neighborhood. All of them belong to Central America. Now, when I moved here, there wasn't any stash houses. But now, since the Central American moved here, there are 4 or 5. All you need is 1 Central American in your neighborhood. And it will be, my neighborhood now is a drug corridor. Period. It didn't used to be that way when I first moved here. There were no stash houses when I first moved here. But now there are 4 or 5. I mean, you see kids, because I walk all over the neighborhood, okay? Like, you see kids 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, no kid has any reason to be walking at 7 o'clock in the morning with a knapsack. So you see kids transporting drugs from one area, from point A to point B in their knapsack. I'm telling you, my neighborhood has become a drug corridor. I've had tools stolen, lawnmower gas stolen. They come right on my deck and steal the lawnmower gas. I've had tools stolen. My neighbor, who I've known for a long time, he's had a lot of tools stolen, and he has expensive tools. Okay, because he buys expensive tools. He's had those stolen, and nobody has had that trouble until they moved here. So I do not agree that they are essential workers. I do not agree. Definitely don't agree that they feed me, because they don't feed me. Okay, I'm gonna say that out loud. They don't feed me. Have a nice day.